It's nicely lit today, if I say so myself.
Yeah, you lit it well. Also, sunshine. I think the reflection of it.
It's a bit of sunshine, but then also I've got a diagonal line going across the back wall, which is just really.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of. There's a lot of lines going.
Since you took all of those lamps and pointed them in a funny direction, so that the rest of the room is really badly lit, but at this point it's actually quite interesting.
It's our studio.
I must go back and sort that out. Is the plant in?
No.
Well, the plant's got to be in, otherwise people think I've killed it. Is the plant in now?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Plant was in ages ago. Can you? Yeah, there. No, wait. Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Experiment. I got this question, so I thought it would be nice to answer it in a practical demonstration. Somebody said, "Well, what do you mean by experiment?" So they said, "Will that work with that?" And I said, "Well, experiment." I said, what do you mean? And what I mean is, of course, we'll try it and see what happens, for that is what an experiment is. But maybe it means different things in slightly different things in different languages.
Maybe.
So I thought we would try some, just what do I mean by experiment? If I said, well, let's do 5 different versions of a thing and see which one we like best. This is the way it goes with perfumery. You can't get there fast.
Can we evolve peppermint and call it an experiment?
Experiment. We could, but for the sake of involving peppermint to make a little joke, I think probably that might set us back a little. I have got some cloud materials, low slope materials, which if you add them, it doesn't matter if you put too much in, because there's no such thing as too much. I've got some materials which are quite intense, like Ethyl Maltol, the candy floss one. I've got some isobutyl phenyl acetate, which is the honey material. Let's just randomly grab whatever there. But I've also got labdanum, because we're still in labdanum month as we speak. The problems of 2024, shiny hair. Right, so if I were about to set off on an experiment, which noted I am, I might take some small bottles, which I think I got from eBay.
Yeah.
But I haven't been able to find them since. I put one, unhide the scale, put it on a scale. It weighs 6.32 grams. I'll press tear, takes it back down to 0. So I'm going to put in, I'm going to write it down, because we write everything down. Labdanum sticky stuff. I'm going to put in a ½ gram, so 0.5 grams of labdanum at
5%.
10. It's at 10, yeah. Yeah. Would you like to smell it?
Yeah.
I know you know what it smells like, but I know also we like it. Oh,
it's the same smell, but it's a different day, isn't it?
Yeah. Once upon a time, I was staying in France in a cottage that belonged to my pen friend's mum, and in the next village there was Uncle Leon. He actually had an Uncle Leon, and he had a pig. He's not the same Leon the pig farmer, but he did. And so we went to visit one day, see how he was, and he said, would we like to see the pig, and we'd see the chickens and see the dates. Anyway, next day we went back, see how he was, and he said, would you like to see the pig? You know, in French, but I'm not going to do it, you know.
Would you like to see the pig?
Voulez voir le cochon? Yeah, thank you, Arthur. And I said, well, we've seen the pig. And he went, that was yesterday. So
yeah, lovely.
We had to go see the pig again.
I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's a good.
Exactly. Like, why wouldn't you want to see the pig on a different day? I mean, it's like, it's a different day. Visit the pig again. Well,
yeah.
Just because you've done something once doesn't mean to say you don't want to do it over and over.
I really like that.
Yeah. So, right. I have ½ gram of labdanum. And the experiment will be what happens when we add other things to labdanum.
Oh, it's a worthy experiment.
Yeah. At 10%, so 0.5 grams labdanum at 10%. I've got the fountain pen, I've got the book. As we say, we write everything down. I think I'll just see what happens when I put it with Hedione.
I think that's a wonderful idea.
Because
Great.
even in this far into my perfume making life, I'm not even sure I've ever done that. So I'm going to press tear, which brings it back to 0. So then I will put in, and these pipettes, these last ones, pretty much do half a gram every single time, but they're sometimes slightly different from each other, so you have to be a bit careful. That one did 0.57, so 1 gram. And we're not going to add anything else to it. We're going to swirl it around a bit. And then test. And we're going to see, what do we think? It is possible to spend days doing this constructively, because you always learn something. So now we're going to lose a little bit of material, we know that.
But it's an experiment.
Yes. But we'll not dip it too far in, and that's why I have pointy strips. So actually we lost 0.02 grams, so it's not too terrible. Curious. It feels finer to me.
Yeah.
Where did I put my labdanum strip? Dropped it.
Yeah, it's changed quite a lot.
Yeah. I don't like it as much.
I don't either.
So it's... Okay, so that... I shall write down. 1 gram. Hedione. At 15%. Somebody wrote last week and said, because I had, in the formula I had ISOE Super at 15%. And somebody wrote, 15%? That's an odd number. I couldn't resist, I wrote back. Yeah, you know what I'm going to say. Well, it's not an even number, it's an odd number. But it's not a strange number, it's quite a normal number. Like, do not line up people with
15. That's an odd number.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself. It's like
very good.
Yeah, bad Sarah. I'm going to put the Cedramber in.
Great.
And see what happens. So Cedramber, Cedramber and Ethyl Ether. It's a woody amber, but it's a very gentle woody amber. So what it tends to do though is it quietly just brings the best out of all the other materials and makes them much more interesting. I don't know, maybe it's like having the right lighting or the right music at a party. Cedramber.
Here's a question for you about experimenting.
Yeah.
Could another word for it be called playing?
My favourite one is pottering.
Pottering.
But yes, it's learning while having fun and not having to concentrate too hard. Probably because, I mean, one might experiment on the way to doing something really specific. And there are a few things that I have to make in the next month, which will need some very specific work. But this could lead into it. None of this is ever wasted. I think sometimes if you are you know exactly where you want to go with something, you can't always find the way. Okay, here is part 3.
Ah, now we like it again.
Yes. And this is where I come to the point which I I try to make often, which is, if you've made something and it's gone off a bit and you didn't like it, is it better to go back and start where you were and start on a new one, or do you just keep going and see if you can fix it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a bit like the it's a bit like if you get lost, if you're driving somewhere in the old days before there was sat nav, or and you've forgotten your map, and off you go and you think, oh yeah, I definitely know the way, and then you suddenly think, no, I actually have no clue where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Do you turn around, go back to the last point at which you knew exactly where you were, or do you continue to like fiddle on through until you hope eventually to find yourself somewhere that you recognise? And there are definitely two schools of thought to this, and I am of the turn around, go back to where the point at which you know that because that bit, okay, you've wasted that. The maximum you're going to waste is to get back to there.
Mm-hmm.
You could waste all manner of time, effort and opportunity trying to track. So here's what I would like to do, because this is going to be Exp 1, I'll call it Lab Day
It's like adding too much salt
1.
to a meal.
That is, you can never get out of that one.
No.
Yeah.
You just have to go back. You just have to start again.
But if you've added just a little bit too much salt, you might think, well, if I put a bit more water in, and then you might think you can. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to do then is see if I retrace my steps and go labdanum straight to Cedramber.
Yes. I think that's important.
Yeah. So that would be my next one, and that is what we're going to do. So whilst pottering in this manner, I mean, if for example, what do you do if you're writing and you're editing? I think writing has become very different now that it's electronic. If it used to be, you see old films where people write on typewriters and they don't like it and they just crumple it up and throw it in the corner, or uncrumple it or keep it. You can't unwrite typewritten stuff. You can't, well, except with a rubber, but it's a bit of a nuisance. But if you're writing in pen on paper, what do? You scratch it out, or do you write another paragraph? Sometimes I will start a completely new document. I'll just put that one to a side because I might think, hang on a second, even on the computer screen, I might come back to that and decide I need that sentence for something different.
Yeah, I do that between drafts. I always start my new draft on a new document.
Yeah.
But
a lot of the time it's very tempting that if you're just writing an email quickly or something, you just get rid of the paragraph you didn't want, get rid of the word you didn't want, and then you come back and think, hang on a second, maybe I wanted that. But perfumery, it's three-dimensional, it exists. You can't just delete it. I suppose you could throw it in the bin, but the thing about pottering is that you can end up with an awful lot of little bottles. So this one is just, so I can use a different column here because it's a tiny little formula, but I can just write the second column. So that one was 3, this one is maybe, that's Lab Day 1. Have that one. I don't have to write it all out again, I just write in that there's a gap where I put the Hedione. And let us see if we like just labdanum and Cedramber. What was it? Is it going to be missing something by not having the Hedione there? I mean, this can take years, but it can be pleasantly calming. Maybe that's what we need for 2024, is just to stop trying to everything we do has to get somewhere and achieve something. Maybe lots of things get invented when somebody's trying to invent something completely different.
Yeah.
Like Bakelite got invented just because Mr. Baker was trying to clean out the test tube. He accidentally found he couldn't. It was absolutely, he made this thing was completely rock hard. Yeah. I still like that.
I prefer it.
Yeah.
Goodness me. I can't believe we've discovered a place that Hedione doesn't make better. A thing that Hedione doesn't make better.
Well, Hedione can sometimes make things a little bit too clear. Sometimes you might want something to be fuzzy in the background, and Hedione brings it into very sharp focus, and you think, whoa, I kind of wish I didn't know that. But then, smelling the one with the Hedione in now, compared to the one without, the one without is sort of warmer and softer and deeper. But the Hedione definitely has something purposeful about it.
Yeah.
The Hedione one feels like it's got like it's got its head up, and it's going out for a walk, and it's going to achieve something.
Have you got any other clouds?
Yeah.
To put with it?
To put with it. Well, I have some Ambrox Super here.
I think let's try that.
Okay, are we going to add it to
Yes.
the first one with the Hedione in, or the second one with the without? Or both?
I think we add it to the second one without. I think we add it to the second one.
Okay. I'm writing everything down because it's be very, very easy to forget which little bottle is which. Borrowing the caps off this. Right, so we're adding that to Love Day 2. Keeping track. So, I think if anybody was hoping that this experimenting was going to be a fascinating new way of doing things, they'd be very disappointed. And just found out that what it is constant pottering.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got Ambrox Super at 10%.
It's... How about this? How about the difference between experimenting to get a desired result and experimenting without having any desired result in mind?
That
because one has a goal, the other one doesn't.
They have different kinds of goals. One has got a very fixed, targeted aim, and the other one is learning in general.
Yeah.
A thing that came up during my between the years break. That wasn't really between, the gap that we had between Christmas and New Year. And somebody was talking about hobbies. Like, there's nothing wrong with having a hobby. It doesn't have to be a blinking side hustle. It doesn't have to be something where people are going like, oh, you can set up a business. Like, no. I just want to do a thing to expand into the far corners and deep recesses of my own brain. I want to, make my skills.
And just do something for fun.
Yes.
Have fun.
Actual fun. And I think that used to be a very British thing to do. Everybody had something down the shed that they did in secret. Like, I know. A funny little skill.
It's what I'm realising that photography is for me.
Yeah.
It's the desire to monetise it or turn it into a side hustle is strong, and then you just go, no, it's not
that's
that.
spoiling it. Yeah.
It's not that.
Well, I knitted a hat over Christmas, and I did a really nice pom-pom on it. And I put a picture up. And then my friend said, oh, my wife would really like one of them. And I went, well, okay, I'll put her on the list after Nikki from Pushback. And he said, how much do I owe you for it? And I said, honestly, if I charged you day rate for this, it would cost you thousands. So I cannot charge you for knitting a hat because it cannot possibly be economically viable. Me knitting a hat. I knit hats for the sheer joy of having a hat. What do you think?
It's nice.
I like it as well.
Yeah, it really works. It is added.
Yeah.
It's added something.
Yes. But it doesn't smell like those intense woody ambers that seem to be taking over the world at the moment. Our King Street woody ambers. It's, you know, it's got a woody amber, it's got Cedramber, it's got labdabum, brings it back into the realm of the traditional. And Ambrox Super. So then, we know we like that. We can always go back and make that. So I'm just going to give it a tick. And my hair's all going to fall down again. No, I'll leave it.
It has fallen down.
Yeah. Whatevs. I'm going to get it all cut off and dyed pink.
Yeah.
Probably.
Cool.
Well, how would you feel about putting ethyl maltol in it?
You took the words right out.
Or do you think that's a terrible idea?
I think it's a brilliant idea.
Okay. Or cognac essential oil.
Are there any bad ideas in experimenting?
Both. Well, no. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the point of it, isn't it?
Unless you're experimenting on humans
or
animals.
Okay, yeah.
In which case there are lots of bad ideas.
Yeah. In perfumery, there could be some bad ideas, but if you just want to know what happens, how are you going to know unless you try it?
Yeah.
Safely. Let's stress that we should be doing all of these within the bounds of safety.
Yeah.
I might put in a white one just so that people can see what colour it is.
Like a bad idea would be using your cupped hands as a in lieu of a bottle.
You reminded me of something.
Don't mix perfume in your cupped hands.
Well, there's that, but also I saw this Instagram post, which was somebody had written that they smelt this perfume and they thought it was so marvellous. They said it wasn't. They accidentally swallowed it. They hadn't accidentally swallowed it. They decided to swallow it and they'd done it on purpose. So they'd actually taken this perfume and sprayed it into their mouth to see what it tasted like. Now,
And we're amazed to discover that it's absolutely revolting.
well, they said it was great. But the thing is that some perfumes, the perfume we have in the UK legally, the ethanol has Bittrex in it, so people can't do stuff like that because it tastes awful and doesn't smell, but it tastes terrible. To stop people do that, it says on the bottle, you must put on the bottle, do not drink. But there are some countries where they don't have to denature the ethanol with Bittrex, so it itself, but it's 96% ethanol, and it's like 200% proof. So, one, don't drink it. But two, all those perfume materials. I mean, they posted. They were alive when they posted it.
But they don't taste nice though. I've accidentally had perfume materials in my mouth.
No, and really, most of them don't. But
they taste horrible.
So, and this is my point. My point here is, some experiments are idiotic.
Yeah.
And that was just no. And that, you know, we can regulate, we can follow the regulations, we can be as safe as we possibly can. We cannot, as they say, legislate against people who are daft enough to swallow them. Right, I've put labdabum in. I'm going to put in the Cedramber, and then I'm going to put in Ambrox. So this is going to be 2 grams. And it is just kind of pleasant, even if you don't have anyone to talk to, and there isn't a camera on you, just to do this stuff. And I'm only using the things that sort of happen to be handy.
Yeah.
I could do a more purposeful one at another time, but I think This is, it's how we learn.
Mm.
And so that's going to be 1 gram. So I think what you can't do is take something out once you put it in. That makes sense, doesn't it? And ethyl maltol is the candy floss molecule. 1 gram.
Lovely.
Ambrox, 10%. 1 gram of that. 2 grams of Cedramber. And because labdabum is full of hundreds of different molecules, I mean, it could be just making a perfume here. Could be.
Mm.
Okay, the ethyl maltol is at 5%, which is quite high. Some people keep it lower than that because it is very candy flossy. Shouldn't do that. I've done it. Okay.
You were experimenting.
I was. So, literally by the drop. I'm putting in 0.1 grams of that at 10%. And I didn't leave enough space for the book on the table, so it's down here, but I have to believe me. We don't have to.
You sort of disappear into the shadows when you do that. It's very mysterious.
Yeah. Okay. I aspire to mysteriousness. What have you found?
Spellbinder.
Ah, that's actually one that I made for Steve Shippey for Haunted Haunted Saginaw. It's ended up in that bottle accidentally because it's like there was a little bit left over and somebody bottled it for me and like, oh, I'll put that in there for you. It's lovely. It's an amber. I say it's lovely. I mean, it's modestly about my own work, you know. But sometimes when I work with people who know exactly what they want and they say, will you make it with this is this, I want it to smell like that, I want it to have this impression, I am better. I'll produce something which
Wow, yeah.
I wouldn't have done by myself. It can be good. They're good. They're good to have a creative director. Okay.
Nope.
This has gone.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
This sort of reminds me of like a cake mixture that you leave to settle, and then it just grows and climbs out of the bowl all by itself and takes over the kitchen.
Yes, Angel Delight. But
it's kind
the
of taken.
labdabum. Wow.
Yeah. It's. I'm not sure if it has. Let's see. This is Lab Day 3. I'd have to wait to see how that settles down. Because at the moment it's, I mean, just that tiny amount, it's like, of super sweetness has made it really super sweet. So those are those materials. It was like the salt, the high slope. You put a tiny bit in and everything changes. Whereas if I put in like double the Cedramber, it would still smell like the previous version. It's bad though. It's not bad.
It's not bad at all. I think that is a planet.
I think you're right. Possibly even the whole sun.
Yeah.
With the ethyl maltol, really, I'd say that's more like, that's either a moon, or it's a shooting star. Ooh. So we've actually then accidentally, we've been pottering, we've made a perfume.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, because there's that tiny amount of ethyl maltol, even for people who think they don't like ethyl maltol, it's just gone, it's brightened it. I'm tempted to put the cognac in as well. Really, if I was being me and I'm doing it properly, I'd start on a whole different pot.
Really, you'd want to do, like if you've got 10 pots, all of them have labdabum, and then 9 of them have the next thing in, 8 of them have the next thing in, and so you can smell each step along the way, right?
Yes.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yes, but then you'd have to sort of like miss out the second one and put the third and fourth in, and then miss out the fourth one. If you had 10 different materials...
That's hundreds of bottles.
Yeah.
There's thousands of bottles, actually.
Yeah, because if you had them like all the same quantity, that would just be 100. If you had like different quantities, you can just go into the millions.
Yeah, you can, yeah.
So, which is why it's a really good idea to get to know how the materials behave by themselves before we get too carried away and start putting 40 things into a bottle. Yeah, I like that though. I like that. Okay, that's probably enough experimenting for this afternoon. What do you think? Okay, yeah. And on that moment of perfect lighting,